Israel's conversations, couch conversations, couch conversations, conversations.
All right, peace and welcome back to another couch conversation. Picking it up with 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Last week, Sister Keziah was going over 1 Corinthians chapter 12, where he was just talking about spiritual gifts that were given to each member that makes up the body of Christ, and how it is to help the body of Christ as far as the gospel, the teaching, them working together, being unified, being of one mind. And when we left off in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 31, he told them, after telling them all that, he said, now covet earnestly the best gifts. Ain't nothing wrong with having these gifts. You should have these gifts.
Yes.
But he says, but I'll show you a more excellent way. In other words, this is the gift you need.
Yes.
And what we're about to read, I also want to say is, I want to say about this 1 Corinthians chapter 13. People don't understand, but this is God's true strength. A lot of people think it's, in his, and don't get me wrong, the Lord is powerful, he's almighty, we know that. But why do you always think he's telling us to love one another?
Yes.
Love everywhere you go. Because this is where his true strength is.
Yes.
Okay. But anyway, let's start in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and read verse 1.
All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 1 reads, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
So he's telling them, because remember in the last chapter, he was telling them about these different gifts. And one of them is, if I was to speak with the tongue of men and angels, meaning that you could speak different languages. He said, but if I don't have charity, charity simply means love. He says, if I don't have love, I become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And we'll find out what that is in just a minute. But the first thing is, what is love? Okay, let's go to Matthew chapter 22 and read verse 37 through 40.
Okay. Matthew chapter 22 and verse 37. It said, Jesus said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
All right, and this is what's meant by charity. Charity, which simply means love. He tells you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. You love your neighbor as you love yourself. And when he says on these two commandments hang all the law and prophets, he's not saying you don't have to keep the law.
No.
This is the only two. No. If you go read the law and what it says, then you will understand what he meant by this. Because most of the law, when you keep it and do it, that part of that law is how you love God.
Yes.
And then part of that law is how you love your neighbor.
That's right.
Well, let's go to 1 John chapter 5 and read verses 1 through 3.
Okay. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 1 says, whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that loveth him that begot loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God.
We know that we love. We have that charity. When we love God.
And keep his commandments. He said keep.
You will keep the commandments.
You're going to keep them.
And if you read those commandments, it'll show you those commandments. You don't steal, lie, bear false witness. You got to honor your mother and your father. You have no other gods before God.
That's right.
If you love, you wouldn't be murdering. You wouldn't murder your brother or your sister. You wouldn't covet what your brother and sister have.
That's right.
And I like that Paul is getting on these Corinthians about this, because this is what was going on in their church. Yeah, you're doing all of this prophesying and got all this knowledge and all that, but look at y'all. Y'all a mess.
Yes. Yep.
This is what you need. You need to work on this.
That's
work
right.
on this gift of love.
That's right.
Okay. But let's go to Psalms chapter 50, 150 and verse 5.
Okay.
Because he said that if I don't have love, I'm become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And, a sounding brass is an instrument, usually a musical instrument that rings loudly, that it wails, it clangs, it makes noise.
Yes.
And then, of course, what cymbals are. We still have cymbals today.
Okay.
Psalm 150 and verse 5.
All right. Psalms 150 and verse 5 says, praise him upon the loud cymbals. Praise him upon the high-sounding cymbals.
Okay, and then we'll go to 1 Chronicles chapter 13 and verse 8. I just wanted to go here to show you that Paul wasn't making anything up.
1 Chronicles chapter 13 and verse 8 says, and David and all Israel played before God with all their might, and with singing, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with timbrels, and with cymbals, and with trumpets.
So that's another example of what he's referring to. In other words, you're just making noise.
Yes.
That's it.
And when you don't show people love, especially, amongst Israel, they don't want to hear nothing you got to say.
Sure don't.
They going to just walk away from you. They don't want to hear you don't show me no love.
That's right.
I mean, you treat me like a dog. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. So basically, when you call yourself spreading the good news, you just sound like a cymbal in their ear.
You're right. That's it.
And they give you that stare look.
Because there's no love in you. Who want to be around that? But these are the tongues you want. That tongue you use to speak them different languages. Psalms 34 and 13.
Okay. Psalms 34.
Because what's the use of speaking in tongues if you use that same tongue to tell lies, to gossip, to verbally assault others, to deceive people? You have a proud tongue, a boasting tongue, a perverse tongue.
Yep.
Your tongue's like a sharp sword. It's like a gun. You use it to injure and hurt others.
That's right.
Then what is it? To just, because I can speak in tongues. I can share the good news using other languages. Okay, but Psalm 34 and verse 13.
Okay. It says, keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile.
So make sure that same tongue you use, ooh, I got the gift of speaking other languages. Make sure that same tongue, though, keep that tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Because this right here hurts your neighbor. This hurts people when you do this.
Yes, it does. And that's why.
And that's not love.
No. And that's why you see you got this divide between black men and black women, because black women have used this tongue to speak evil against the brethren. And there's no way you can tell me as a sister that you love me and you hate the man that look like me. No, that is lip speaking guile. They are deceiving these young girls.
Sure is.
That's what's going on
and
there.
Then they be turning on each other.
You don't love.
Okay, Proverbs chapter 31 and 26. I'm glad you said that, Mama Keziah.
Okay.
Because we finna read this.
Chapter 31 and verse 26 of Proverbs says, she openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
Work on them tongues.
That's right. And I like it says, when this woman, this virtuous woman, she opened her mouth with wisdom, that wisdom is not there to destroy. She gives, in other words, she gives you life-changing advice.
Right.
She's not going to speak anything to you that's going to be detriment to your husband, to your children, to you, or even to the black community,
Right.
as they like to say. And she speaks it with kindness. You
Right.
hear how vile and vicious
Man.
these women are, and you think I'm gonna sit under your kneecaps and you tell me anything? No, you don't have love, no wisdom, and no kindness.
Right. And he said that tongue is the law
The tongue,
of kindness. And where that's going to come out of right here.
right here, son.
Which
That's where
let
it's
me
coming
know
from.
they ain't in this.
Nope.
Satan has filled their hearts
Yep.
with wickedness. Oh, I was supposed to read this first. I forgot.
What
But
was
Mark
it?
chapter 16 and verse 17.
Okay. Mark chapter 16.
Yes, ma'am. Verse 17. I don't know if I put it on there.
There it is,
Okay,
yeah.
I must have skipped it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Mark 16 and 17 says, and these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, and they shall speak with new tongues.
So we see that was a gift that was given. But the point that Paul is trying to make, what good is it if I don't have any love? If I speak y'all,
Yep.
if I'm not kind, if I don't give good wisdom, I say things that harm others.
Yeah.
What's the point? With that same tongue that you use.
That's right.
Okay, so back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and we'll pick it up with verse 2.
Verse 2. Okay. It says, and though I have the gift of prophecy
So now we're talking about the gift of prophecy. A gift is a talent.
and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing.
So let's look at the part where he says, and though I have the gift of prophecy. So you're able to, prophesy about that which is to come in the future. Or you understand prophecy.
Yes.
Let's go to Joel chapter 2 and verse 28.
Okay. Joel 2. Right.
I'm trying to get there. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Joe always get me. It's another one of them too.
He up here by Hosea's.
I think I'll be like, is he
Amos.
by Amos
Yep.
or is he in front of Obadiah?
Where is it?
Joel 2 and 28.
Okay. And it says, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions.
So the Lord is the one that gives that gift. That's what
Yes.
Paul was telling in the prior chapter to chapter 13. And so this is a real gift.
Yes.
And
It's
the
a
Lord
gift.
give you this.
That's right.
You can see in the future, like, yeah, this
Man.
gonna happen. Or I was reading the script and I seen this and I know what's gonna happen.
Yep. But
What's the point if, let's go to 1 Samuel,
okay.
because I want to show y'all something.
1 Samuel chapter 10.
1 Samuel chapter 10.
Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 1. And it says, then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance?
And this was Samuel anointing Saul to be king of Israel. So we're talking about Saul. Let's jump down to verse 6.
Verse 6. The Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shall be turned into another man.
And he's talking to Saul. And he told Saul, you're going to prophesy.
Yes.
Let's go to read verses 9 through 13.
Verse 9. And it says, And it was so that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart. And all those signs came to pass that day. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him. And the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them.
Then the Lord say in Joel 2, I will pour my spirit of prophecy. Now, so it came to pass what Samuel told Saul. Verse 11.
And it came to pass, when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets. Then the people said one to another, What is this thing? What is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets?
And that happened to some of us. I remember her. Boy, she used to be a mess. Now she's serving God.
Among the prophets. Yes.
Anointed in the truth.
Yes, sir.
Serving Christ. I'm going somewhere with it.
Verse 12. And one of the same place and said, But who is their father? And therefore it became a proverb, Is Saul also among the prophets? And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place.
Oh, so Saul prophesied so much that people said, well, is he a prophet?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go over to same book, over to chapter 19.
Okay.
And read verse 1.
Okay. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 19 and 1.
Now, this is Saul later. Years later.
Yes.
David
Yes, sir.
is now in the picture.
And Saul spake to Jonathan, his son, and to all his servants that they should kill David.
Well, where is the love in that?
I know.
After all David done done.
So he had the gift to prophesy. But he didn't have no
He
charity.
didn't have no charity.
No love.
Yeah.
Now you talking about murder.
You want to murder, because see, love don't do that.
Sure don't.
But couldn't he prophesy? Or did we make that up?
Is he among the prophets? That's what they asked.
All right,
Oh,
well, let's jump
goodness.
down to 23 and 24 and read that. Watch this.
And he went thither to Naoth in Ramah, and said, And the Spirit of God was upon him also, and he went on and prophesied until he came to Naoth in Ramah. Verse 24. And he stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Samuel in the like manner, and laid down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets?
Now remember, this is different. Now, this is years later. He want to kill David, but guess what it said? He still
Prophesied. That's
So
right.
you could have that gift and still have that evil and that murder spirit on your heart. Talking about, I'm still serving God. Didn't Saul do that?
That's what we just read. He sure did, Zahar. Now you talking about killing David.
But what happened to Saul in the end?
No, he fell on that sword.
On his own sword.
That's right.
So that's why it's important. Yeah, I want all these gifts. Make sure you get that gift of love.
That's right.
See, because everybody want that. People want that gift to be able to teach and want the gift to be able to speak in different languages, interpret different languages, because they want to be seen.
Yep, that's right.
Or say you better make sure you get this gift of love.
Love. That's right.
That need to be what you working
Above
on.
all, yes.
Work on this love, because the Lord ain't playing.
He sure
He don't
ain't.
care how much you know, you understand, you can prophesy, you can speak in by 30, 40 tongues. If you ain't got love, what did Paul say? I am nothing.
Nothing. That's dangerous.
Okay, so now we want to cover that part in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and 2, where it says, and understand all mysteries and knowledge. If you look up that word mysteries, it simply means secrets or hidden things that are not obvious to the understanding. And knowledge is practical understanding of something, facts, skills, or information that is gained through the experience of education. All right, so you like, yeah, I can open this book and I can break it down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Know what I love?
I can show you all kind of stuff in here you can't see.
But you lacking love.
But you lacking love, it ain't nothing. So let's go to Daniel chapter 1 and read verses 17 and 20.
Okay.
I think that's where we at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Daniel chapter 1 and verse 17. It says, as for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge
There go to knowledge.
and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams.
Now he was talking about Daniel, Mishael, Hananiah, and then you had, I think it was Azariah.
Yes. Yep.
I
They had
want
all
to call
of
them
them.
by their slave name.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll read verse 20 in that same chapter.
Verse 20. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding, that the king inquired of them, and he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm.
So they, man, and in all manner, it said, there was among them all was found none, like verse 19, like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understand. Who get it? God.
Yes.
It's a gift.
Yep. But it's like today, our people got all these degrees and they understand different things, which is a gift from God, but they do it so they can stand before the king of other nations and say, I'm a part of y'all. Why they look down on these sisters and brothers, because they ain't got no love for them.
No love. Yep. But not these.
No.
Not Daniel. No, they
Nope.
love they people.
That's right. Total difference.
Okay, so Daniel chapter 2, and we'll read verses 19 through 23.
All right, so right next door, we're going to Daniel chapter 2 and verse 19. And it said, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision.
Oh, a mystery. Because the king had a dream, and it was mysterious.
Yes, he wanted to know
He
what
wanted
it
to
is.
know what it was. But Daniel, it was revealed to him.
In a night vision. And then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. For he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. And he giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding.
So he gives that knowledge in these mysteries.
That's right.
The
It's
understanding
gift.
of mysteries.
Yeah.
It comes from God.
Yep. Verse 22. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him.
Wow, he revealeth the deep and secret things. So you have to go to God for this.
That's right.
So Daniel trying to show him, hey, I ain't just smart on my own. God showed me this stuff.
That's right.
So get knowledge. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Get knowledge and want to understand what the word is saying. Oh, hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm making a point here. Verse 23.
I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers.
First of all, he praised the God that the Lord said, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and thy mind.
That's right.
He didn't say, smart. Look at me.
Nope, he didn't do that. It said, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter.
But let's go over to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 16.
Okay.
I just went there to show you that, the Lord gives these gifts. It's undeniable.
Undeniable.
But Daniel and them, hey, they love God and they love their neighbor.
That's right.
They had it where it counted.
That's right. And you notice Daniel didn't do it by himself.
Sure did.
He had Hananiah, Ezra, and Mishael
did.
with him. Yeah, that's why he said, revealed it unto us.
That's
He
right.
doesn't say, y'all stand by and get this from the Lord so I can be the big muckety muck among y'all brews.
Right. All right.
Ecclesiastes 1:16.
Now we're talking about King Solomon. Watch this.
I communed with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge.
So he had wisdom and knowledge. It's a gift from God.
It is.
But that same Solomon, did he not later got his heart turned
Yes,
by
he
the
did.
women he married of other nations?
Yep.
And then he put a grievous yoke that you can read about in 1 Kings
That's
chapter
right.
12 and 4. He put a grievous yoke on his people.
That's right.
That when he died, they told his son, please don't do us the way your daddy did us,
That's
man.
right.
Put a heavy burden on us.
Yep.
Where was the love for his neighbor?
That's right.
With all of the wisdom and knowledge he had.
That's right.
And that's what Paul was trying to get them to see in the Corinthian church, and we need to see today. You can have all that knowledge and mystery and stuff, but you got to love.
Yes.
That's the greatest out of all of these gifts. It supersedes all these gifts.
Yeah.
These other ones.
That's right.
So he had the wisdom and the knowledge. Hey, people came all over to hear King Solomon.
Yes. But
Said
see,
Queen of Sheba came down.
yeah, sure did.
But look at how he turned out.
That's
what he
right.
did. Then end up having the king later strip through his son because of what he did.
Yeah, that's right. But love amongst Israel, they see that as a weakness.
They do.
But operating in these gifts, they see that as a strength. Makes you
Ooh,
strong.
yes.
But not in the eyes of the Most High.
That's why, if you notice, we don't speak enough about these type of subjects because we see it as a weak thing. That's stupid, talking about loving each other, treating each other right. No, let's debate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these mysteries.
But you got to have love, though.
Okay, so going back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, he said, and though I have all faith. And this faith here is just you believing
Yes.
that you could do the impossible.
Yeah.
A belief. Okay, let's go to Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20. He said, because and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, I can do the impossible
Yes.
with this faith. I can do miracles, I can do healings,
My goodness.
I can do it all. People come to me.
Yes.
But let's go to Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20.
All right. Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you.
So that's what Paul got it for. You
Yep.
can remove mountains.
That's right.
But what good is it if you don't love?
Nothing. No good to you. Got to have both.
Okay, so back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and we will pick it up with verse 3.
Okay. All right.
And y'all understand, I could have pulled so many scripts. I'm telling y'all, it's crazy. And when I was actually putting this lesson together, I was like, man, I'm like, boy, I want to add this one and this one, but if I do, it'll be pages long.
Yes.
It hurt me a little bit to leave out some scripts. I was like, oh man.
Yes.
That's why we say, y'all study for y'allself. We just putting it out there, and y'all gotta take it further.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
It says, verse 3, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profited me nothing.
So he said, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, I give.
Yes.
And I like that he uses this because today they call charity giving.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sure is.
But charity is love.
Mm-hmm. But people do this what here he's speaking in verse 3. People do this for the outward, to build their resume.
Yep.
They do it they join the Make-A-Wish Foundation, to get a little children who's sick, they little one last wish, and a lot of people, they get their body to be burned just for the research.
Yep.
You can use my body to research once I die. Mm-hmm. They don't do it because it's not done because of love.
Right.
It's something there that they're going to gain from it.
Right. So we want to focus on that part where he says, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, I give everything I got.
Mm-hmm.
Down to the last mite.
Mm-hmm.
Like the older lady that Jesus was talking about. The little widow woman.
1 penny. Yes.
Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 4.
All right. Matthew 6 and 1. It says, take heed that you do not your alms before men.
Is this not you giving?
Mm-hmm. That's you giving. To be seen of them. Otherwise, you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven.
And we see people do this all the time. They can't wait to whip a phone out and show how they helping folk. Mm-hmm. Well, you already got your reward.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Verse 2.
And therefore, when thou dost thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
And he was talking about the Pharisees and stuff at the time. This is what they did.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Verse 3.
But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly.
And the reason why I went here is because he was always getting on the Pharisees. Mm-hmm. They was doing stuff like this. They gave and stuff, but what were they? Wicked.
Yes.
They had no love.
No.
Weren't they the ones that crucify him?
Sure was. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Crucified the Messiah. For what? Helping? For healing?
Yeah.
Raising the dead,
being righteous,
major stuff, being righteous.
Yes.
But they gave, had that appearance.
That's right.
So the Lord, like, yeah, you could do all that. Mm-hmm. But if you ain't got that love like them Pharisees, because they did all this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But he like, you ain't stepping foot in my kingdom.
That's right. That's so true.
And I know I don't have it on the paper, but let's go over to Matthew chapter 7 and read verses 22.
Matthew 7 and 22.
Because people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
21.
21?
Yes, ma'am. 21 and 22.
Okay. It says, not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven.
So don't think just because you, yes, Lord, I serve God.
Nope.
I'm representing Jesus. But he said, not everyone that saith to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven.
But he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven.
Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's right.
Verse 22.
Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Yeah, Saul
there
did.
go that prophecy. There go the prophesying
Yep.
that Paul was talking about.
And in thy name have cast out devils.
That's you. You can move all mountains. That faith.
Yes.
You can do the impossible. Yeah, we was casting out devils and everything.
Yes. And in thy name done many wonderful works.
Man, we did all kind. We gave.
Yes.
I mean, we gave to the poor. I mean, we just did it all.
Yep.
Because in another place, I ain't gonna go there, but in another place, Christ talked about, in that day, he was gonna tell them that, you didn't visit me
Yeah.
when I was sick, when I was in prison.
That's right.
See, he was going over love. You didn't have that. Yeah, you did all this stuff right here.
That's right.
But look how you dogged out your neighbor.
That's right. But see, love got Tabitha woke up. Didn't
Sure
it?
did.
She died, but she loved, and the people proved it.
Right.
They cried out for the sister because she was gone. But she had that real, genuine love.
Sure
the Lord
did.
allowed her to wake up from death. She was asleep, but he woke her right up. Lazarus, too. All the people said,
Sure
oh,
did.
how he loved him.
Sure
they
did.
say that about Christ. He loved him.
They loved him. Because a lot of people think this is what get God's attention. Ooh, because I can prophesy. Ooh, because I gave. I can speak in different tongues.
No,
And
it
they
don't.
think that really get God's attention. No, what get his attention is love.
Yes. That's what gets his attention. 'Cause
You
that's a
want
true
God's
strength.
attention, do that. That's a true strength. But people think it's a weakness.
Yeah,
The Lord like, no, this is the greatest strength here.
that's right.
Because
Let a
the
joker
knowledge,
try to start stoning us like Stephen. We'll be throwing bricks back and everything. But he said, what? Forgive them.
Forgive
Just
them.
like when Jesus did. He said, Father, forgive them. Stephen said the same thing and just went on to sleep. Us we'll start hurling rocks, bricks, busting heads.
Sure would. Now let's look at that part where it says, if I was to give my body,
Okay.
what it say? And though I give my body to be burned. And this is as in a sacrificial manner. To die for some type of righteous cause. A martyr, per se.
Yes. Okay.
Let's go to Daniel chapter 3 and read verses 17 through 18.
Okay. Daniel chapter 3 and verse 17. It says, if it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king.
This is when they wanted them to bow down to that statue.
Yeah.
They say, we ain't doing none of that.
18. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
Okay. Now let's jump down to, I know I didn't put it in there,
Okay.
but, well, let's just jump down and read verse 24, because this is after they were thrown into that burning. Remember he said, I give my body to be burned.
24. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king.
And then we'll read verse 25, and that's it.
25. And he answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
See, they gave their body and said, I'm gonna die for this. I'm dying for my God. But what got out of them? That love. for
That
God.
love, that's right.
Now remember, these are the same guys that the Lord gave them understanding, knowledge, wisdom.
Yes, that's right.
But it was that love.
That love, that's right.
I love my God.
My God.
But the Lord like, don't do none of that. If you don't love me, you could do that right there. What they did, thinking you getting yourself to me, but you was a crook,
Yeah.
a liar, a schemer, a gossiper,
Yeah,
murderer. He said, you can do that all you want.
that's right. You're just gonna have a cremation.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. But love got divided there. They loved their God. They wouldn't bow to other gods. They
No.
say, I love my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and we'll read verse 4.
Okay. Verse 4. Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and 4 says, charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, and charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up.
Okay. So it says charity is long suffering, meaning it's love. It can put up with, it has patience.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we know that's tough.
Oh,
Something
yes.
can be done to you, or a brother or sister did or said something to you. It just, or what they continue to do, but you keep being patient, keep suffering.
Yes. Long suffering.
Okay. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3 and read verses 12 through 14.
Okay. And Colossians 3 and 12 says, put on therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering.
Long suffering. There you go. And he said kindness. He said that in 1 Corinthians 13. This is what we got to work on right here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because everybody want to be able to break down this book. You know, people want to be able to teach, do all that. Work on this.
Yes. That's right. And these are all actually attributes of Christ.
Yeah.
13 says, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do you.
So you got to ask yourself a question. Are you doing this? Because we do it with the other nations.
Oh man, all day.
But are you doing it with your own people?
They don't do it. 14. And above all these things, put on charity.
That's love.
Yep. And if somebody telling you to put on something, that means you ain't got it. Which is the bond of perfectness. Wow.
So this is serious. This is something you want.
Perfectness.
This is what the Lord wants us to have.
That's right. Put
Okay.
on.
So let's go over to Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 22.
Okay.
We just kind of going through it. Reason why we come in here is because he said back in 1 Corinthians 13, and you know, love is kind. Flip there, I'm almost there. Okay.
It says, the desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar.
So it says the desire of a man is his kindness. In other words, this is what we want.
Yes.
We want to be kind. This is what people like in people is their kindness.
Yes. Absolutely.
Don't nobody want somebody cruel and mean, bitter,
Yeah.
hateful, can't be approached.
No. Absolutely
People see
not.
you, they run the other way.
That's right.
But you're giving, you're generous. People are able to approach you. That's desirable in a man and a woman.
Yes.
It's desirable. Wow.
That's right.
This is the attribute you want.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, going back to 1 Corinthians 13, it says, charity or love envieth not.
Okay.
Let's go to Mark chapter 15 and verse 10.
Okay. Mark 15. Okay, Mark 15 and 10. For he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy.
Talking about Pilate knew that the chief priest had delivered up Christ.
Envy.
For envy.
Yep, got a lot of that in Israel.
Yes, a lot of it. Envy.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that watch us secretly. Envious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know what for, but that spirit get on you, boy.
Mm-mm. That's a dangerous
And
smell.
didn't they handle the law?
Yeah.
I mean, they had their own traditions too, but
Yep. But they knew what it said, what not to do.
they sat at Moses' seat.
Mm-hmm. They just didn't do what Moses
Yeah.
said. That's right.
Now let's go to Acts chapter 7 and read verse 9.
Right.
But love wouldn't do that. Love wouldn't let you deliver up your own brother
No, it wouldn't.
to another nation of people to be killed.
That's right.
Love don't do that kind
It
of
sure
foolishness,
doesn't.
conspiring and taking counsel.
Mm-mm.
And you supposed to be holy.
Yeah. Yeah, you know better.
That's why they said, the Lord said, many gonna say to me in that day, Lord, Lord.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing these things right here, that's contrary to this love, God gonna get you. He don't care how much you understand, how much you know. Because people boast in that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what I know. Look at all these people I done bought in teaching.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
The Lord, I don't care about none of that.
He sure doesn't.
So Acts chapter 7 and verse 9.
It says, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but God was with him.
Them patriarchs, we know who that is.
Mm-hmm. They're my papas.
They're my
Our forefathers.
forefathers.
Yep. And just think about them was Joseph's own brothers.
Brothers, yep.
But envy.
Envy. Sold him. Love wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm. Yep. And then you sit up there every day in your daddy's face knowing, watching this man grieve. That he
Right.
thinking an animal and ate his son. And you
know
won't
you
say
done sold
nothing.
him. Right. You let
Yeah.
him go all them years suffering like
Yep.
that.
So you didn't love your daddy and you didn't love your brother.
Now, wasn't this the same brothers that when Dina,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All y'all.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to go to slicing and dicing.
why you ain't fight for your brother?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Why not? Because that envy won't let you do it.
I think one of the patriarchs was like, let me see if I can do something real
Yeah,
quick.
just put him in the...
I want to see
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But he was gonna come back to pit and pull him out. He's like, Lord, they done
gone,
sold
they
him."
done-
So we can't say it with all of them, but still.
Yep.
See how dangerous envy is? And you can have these other gifts.
Yes.
But you got that right there in your heart, and the Lord don't want nothing to do with you. So back to 1 Corinthians, I think it was 1 Corinthians 13 and 4, where it said, charity or love vaunteth not itself. That's to be boastful. You arrogant. You're a braggart.
Yes.
It vaunteth not itself, and it's not puffed up. Puffed up with what? Pride.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's look at that. Psalms chapter 94 and verse 4.
All right. Psalms 94 and 4.
Make sure you ain't doing none of this. Because all of this got to do with, loving your neighbor,
That's right.
loving your God.
It sure does. It says, how long shall they utter and speak hard things? And all the workers of iniquity boast themselves.
The workers of iniquity, which means you ain't keeping the commandments.
That's right.
You a lawbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the Lord said, love the Lord thy God and love your neighbor. For on these two hang all that law that you breaking.
That's right.
But you boast.
Mm-hmm.
Boasting, that's vaunting yourself.
That's right. Mm-hmm. It's a sin.
Make sure you ain't doing none of that.
That's right.
And we know if you boast, that means you boasting about some evil you doing.
Yep, that's them hard things.
Love don't do that.
It sure doesn't. It doesn't do it.
Psalms chapter 49 and verse 6.
Okay. Okay, Psalms 49 and 6 says, they that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches.
This is talking about wicked people. Boast themselves in their wealth and trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the mouth. Look how much money. I can do whatever I want. I
Yep.
can just use poor people, abuse them.
That's right. Pay people off to do my dirt.
Yeah.
All that come with it.
Psalms chapter 10 and verse 3.
Okay. Psalms chapter 10 and verse 3 says, "For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and bless the covetous with whom the Lord abhorreth."
So we see the wicked boasting about their heart's desire, whatever that evil thing they plan in their mind, that counsel they take to do
Yes.
what they want to do.
Yep. Then they do it with the evictions.
Sure did.
We taking it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And what the Supreme Court, they let it go. You got to pay. Get out on the street.
Wow.
They
Button
can kill them.
itself.
Yes. Why? Because they're covetous.
Yep,
It said,
covetousness.
and bless the covetous whom the Lord abhor. They covetous want that money. They
Sure
don't care
do.
if you're on the street, you
That
and your
filthy
children.
lucre.
Having you out there, and guess what's coming up? These storms.
Yep.
And then wintertime, it's fixing to be cold. All them people out on the street.
But you know what's scary? The people trust and love the same system that's destroying them.
Absolutely.
They've been programmed and trained to protect that system,
Yeah.
but hurt the ones that are teaching you to be free of it through
Yes,
Christ.
absolutely. That's a shame, but that's the truth.
Okay, so let's go to Romans chapter 2 and read verses 17 through 23.
All right, Romans 2.
And I'm kind of trying to take my time a little bit going through it because nobody really,
It
You
taught
know,
us anything.
yeah, people just read it and keep moving. But it's all here in the scriptures, we just have to read it. Okay, so Romans chapter 2, verses 17 through 23.
All right, and it reads, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and resteth in the law, and makest thy boast of God." Look at that boast.
So he said, you call yourself a Jew. He talked to the religious crowd here
That's
that
right.
were indeed Jews. He said, and boy, you rest in the law, and you make your boast of God. Yes, we know God. Everybody come to us.
Yeah.
They hear from us. Our teachings, our doctrines.
Yep.
Verse 18.
"And knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law."
Boy, you know that law. You understand his will. You understand the mysteries. You can go back and forth in the law and the prophets.
That's right.
Verse 19.
And not only that, Zahara, and are confident
Confident.
that thou art a guide to the blind. That's that arrogance, ain't it?
Yep.
And a light of them which are in darkness.
We are the light to the Gentiles. Boy, we teach that other house. And these other Jews that don't know God, we teach them. We bringing them in.
Vaunting themselves.
They don't know nothing. They come to us on them Q&As.
Oh, puffed up.
Email us.
That's right. Verse 20.
20.
It says, "An instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law."
We are the Holy Grail Church.
Yep.
People come to us when they want money. Everybody started here. They come out of this church. They come up from up under our kneecaps.
That's right.
All of the people you see teaching now, they come out of us.
Yes.
Verse 21.
"Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal?"
Are you stealing?
Paul asking. "Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery?"
This is all breaking the law.
That's right.
And the Lord just told you, love your neighbors, you love yourself. This ain't you loving your neighbor.
Sure ain't.
When you stealing and committing it, that means somebody was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Always laying them
He
out.
was laying them out. I love it. Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege?
You be preaching against them idols. You ain't supposed to do no idol worship. But you making money from
That's
the
right.
worship.
Yep, that's right. 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law.
There go you vaunting. It say charity don't vaunt itself, but here you go boasting in that same law.
Through breaking the law, dishonors thou God.
And that's what the Lord be looking at.
That's right.
Yeah, you know that law, boy. You got knowledge. You be teaching people you feel are unwise and foolish.
That's right.
He said, but you
But-
dishonor me through the breaking of that same law that you vaunting on,
That's right.
vaunting over. You ain't got love.
Not at all.
You ain't gonna make it.
But we don't take that part serious. It look like the Most High do.
It sure do. Okay, so on the part where he said love is not puffed up, that's with pride. Let's go to Psalms chapter 119 and verse 21.
Okay, Psalms 119 and verse 21.
Okay.
It says, Thou hast rebuked the proud that are cursed, which do err from the commandments.
So they done erred from the commandments. So they ain't loving. He rebuked the proud.
Yep.
That's the puffed up group.
Yep, that's right.
No, they arrogant. They can't be told nothing.
Nope.
Prideful in what they've accomplished, what
Yep.
they got going on,
That's right.
their own achievements.
Yep. Boastful. Proud.
So that means you proud. You ain't keeping these commandments.
You sure ain't.
So ain't no way you loving.
Cause he told us to keep ourselves humble.
That's right. So that means you not being merciful. You not being humble and compassionate. But I
No.
noticed he said they curse.
Yeah. They curse.
Got some hot fire waiting on me.
Sure do.
Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 4.
Okay.
It's just something to think about.
Sure is. Proverbs chapter 21 and 4. It says, a high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin.
So being puffed up is sinful.
Yep,
Because when you pride, you breaking God's commandments.
that's right.
And you saying, I don't need God, I got this.
Yep.
It's about me.
And you think about Zahar here, he used that word plowing. That implies your works.
Yep,
The
that's your
things that
works.
you're doing. It's wicked. And so if you're doing something that's wicked, that means you're breaking this law. You're not loving the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and you're not loving your neighbor as yourself.
Right. And I always say, hey, look at the Pharisees. That's a good example.
Oh man, yeah.
Prideful. That's why they killed Christ.
Yep.
Envy, pride. Can't be corrected. Hey, y'all got this part wrong. Gotta look at that again. Who he got all Israel following him.
That's right.
Can't tell me we've been doing this for years.
Yes. Get upset.
That don't mean nothing to God if you ain't got no love. It ain't nothing. Now we'll go over to 1 Timothy chapter 6 and read verses 3 through 5.
All right. 1 Timothy 6 and 3. It says, if any man teaches otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing, but doting about questions and strifes of words, whereof cometh envy,
Oh, envy.
strife, railings, evil surmising, perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds, and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself.
Wow. So all out of this pride coming these strifes, envy,
Yes.
railings, evil surmising, all for what? Gain.
That gain. And they see it as godliness.
Yep. Getting
That
money,
gain is
yeah.
about that money. Because that's what happened with the scribes and Pharisees. If Christ take off multitude of people, that money gonna go to him and his disciples. We got to kill him.
Yeah. So, Mama Keziah, we come to find out, then it really ain't about the doctrine then. It's about this system they got going. Getting
Yes.
this money off the people.
That's right. That's what it's about.
Okay, so we'll go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and read verse 5.
Okay. Verse 5 says, it does not behave itself unseemly. Seeketh not her own, is easily provoked, and thinketh no evil.
So it says it don't behave itself unseemly, and unseemly simply means to be impolite, shameful, tasteless,
Yes.
not proper or appropriate. And you know, it don't seek out her own. It's not looking for its own interests. Only worry about me, myself, and I.
Yes.
You better find out what you can do, sister. Don't worry about me and mine. I got mine, get yours. And it's not easily provoked, easily a hothead.
Yeah.
You can snap at any minute. Somebody look at you wrong, just snap
No.
and
Don't behave
think of
itself.
no evil.
Evil.
Not sitting around imagining how you can hurt somebody,
That's right.
harm somebody.
Don't do that.
So let's look at the part where he says, this love does not behave itself unseemly. We'll go and read Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 through 5.
Okay. And I like that he calls it this charity, like he calls it a her.
Hurt.
And that's it, and that's how we as women should be, like this soft feminine quality. He calls it her. She don't vaunt herself and envious and is easily provoked. No, none of that. It's a soft quality.
So
like
that's
a woman.
uncomely for a woman.
Yep.
Unseemly, unladylike.
Yes, it is. Okay. Ephesians 5:1 says, be ye therefore followers of God as dear children.
So, first of all, you need to be following God's footsteps. And he didn't do none of what we've been reading about being envious, hateful, coveting.
None of that.
He didn't do none of that.
He said as dear children, not children of the corn,
Yeah.
but dear children.
Verse 2.
And walk in love.
Then you can do that. Because
Yes.
God gonna show you how to walk in love.
He sure is.
Do what? This right here.
Right here.
And walk in love or charity.
As Christ also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savor.
And you have to think about Christ did. What he did was major.
Yes.
He loved us so much. He left where he was at in heaven. All honor, glory. Came down.
Yep. In this flesh.
In the flesh and died for his
Yes.
people.
And you imagine people talking trash to you, envious of you, trying to set you up.
Right.
That's
That's real love. Verse 3.
But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints.
And when you look up this becoming saints and stuff, this is the same thing as saying, like not being unseemly. Because you're a saint now, you should be following after Christ.
Yes.
These things here is not love. Fornication, uncleanliness, covetousness. Let it not be once named among you as becoming saints.
Saints.
This is
That's
what you are now, following in the footsteps of God. Verse 4.
Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater have any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God.
So that's what the Lord meant by many shall say to me,
Oh.
Lord, Lord. He said, but you ain't coming in the kingdom. Why? Because you're doing these things right
All
here.
this.
That's breaking the commandments.
That's right.
That's why even people that tell you ain't got to keep the law, they don't love you.
That's right.
They don't have charity. Because nobody would run around and tell people not to keep the law. Look at the condition of our people as a result of that lie.
That's right.
It has destroyed us.
It sure has. It
That's
sure
not
has.
love.
No.
That's hate.
That's what it is.
When somebody tell you, when we could clearly read in the word, it say, love your neighbor or love your own people, and a person can get up and say that ain't what that mean, love everybody, all your enemies, everybody. That's not love. That person lying to you.
That's right.
And what is it usually for? Filthy lucre.
Yep.
I like calling it lucre because it
That's
sounds
what-
more.
You
But
like
all-
that word better.
But all of those things that we just read here in Ephesians 5, that's unbecoming
Yes.
or unseemly for a saint.
Yes, it is.
Now let's go to Romans chapter 1,
Okay.
read verses 26 through 27.
Okay. Okay. Romans 1 and 26 says, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burn in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly.
Oh, unseemly.
And receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meet.
So a man and a woman and woman, that's
unseemly.
unseemly. Love don't do that.
It sure
That
don't.
ain't real love.
It's not. Lord called it a error.
So if that's contrary to the word of God, then other things like coveting, you're doing that. That's unseemly.
Seemly.
Stealing, that's unseemly. But Lord say don't do that.
Yes.
Not
that's right.
honoring your parents, that's unseemly.
Yeah.
Not keeping the Sabbath day, unseemly.
That's right. Yep. It's in the law.
Yep,
He
that's
told
right.
you all these two ain't on the law and the prophets.
Okay, so on the part where he said, love seeketh not her own, this is selflessness. Okay, let's go to Philippians chapter 2
Okay.
and read verses 3 through 5.
All right. Seeketh not her own.
So she's selfless.
We got a lot of selfish people today.
Selfish, yeah.
And very few selfless. Verse 3 of Philippians 2. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind. Let each esteem other better than themselves.
But if you're looking out for your own interests, that's why you will do things in strife and vainglory.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're seeking.
That's right.
Some kind of fame, attention
From it,
something.
yes.
But he says, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves.
That's right. Not seeking your own, huh? 4. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others.
Look out for your brothers and sisters.
Look out for them.
And whatever they may need or need help on.
Yep. But we try to destroy each other.
Yeah.
Try to gank each other. Try to get over on each other.
But when you think that the Philippians are these other nations, you'll do that.
Yeah.
But when you know these your people, oh, okay, now I see.
Yes.
Verse 5.
It says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus.
Oh. So we want this mind here was in Christ, this love.
Yes.
To the point he gave himself. That's what we read in Ephesians. He gave himself as a sacrifice.
That's right. He sure did.
for his love towards Israel.
That's real love.
We ain't even doing that.
No.
We can't even do the smaller things
Sure can't.
to help each other.
Nope.
So we got to work on this.
Yes. That's why he said put on.
Put on. And it's amazing with everything that the Lord knows, full of knowledge, full of wisdom, but look at what he operated in mostly. His love.
That's right.
When somebody came to him, Lord, you heal my arm, he ain't say, well, hold on, you know about this mystery.
Yeah.
No, he said, come here.
Yep.
You have faith, you believe? Yes, sir, Lord, I believe. All
That's right. That's right.
But the Pharisees in them, you had to have some kind of requirement. That's if they could help you.
That's right. And it better not been on the Sabbath.
Yeah. Oh,
That arm gonna stay messed
yeah.
up.
We'll do it after the Sabbath. So let's go to Romans chapter 15, verses 1 through 3.
Okay.
This is how the Lord wants us to operate with charity. This needs to be supersede all of these gifts we ask him for. Even when you think about what King Solomon answered the Lord when he said, tell me all these things you want. He said, I give them to you. Solomon could have said, I want the money.
Oh, yeah.
He said, he could have asked for women. He could have asked for mansions.
Yep. He sure
But he said, you know what, Lord, give me judgment so I'll be able to
handle your
handle these
people
people. That's love.
righteously. Yes.
I love my people.
That's right. And also you can't start off this way and then fall off.
And then fall off.
So that's what means. You started off in
And
it,
then you
and then you err.
Mm.
They called you got too big for your britches.
You got proud. Romans chapter 15, 1 through 3.
It says, we then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification.
Right, because love no seek his own. So love will bear the infirmities of the weak.
Yes.
It will seek to please his neighbor for his good to edification.
For even Christ pleased not himself, for it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me.
So Christ didn't please himself. He came down to serve. He said the Son of Man come to serve.
Yep.
To minister. Not to be ministered to, but to minister.
That's right. Came to serve us.
Didn't he say,
others.
let this mind be in you?
Yes.
This is what the Lord wants.
That's what he wants. But we don't want to give that.
And that's what we don't have today among Israel. We don't have no servant leaders.
No.
It's very rare. It's very few.
Yep.
They want to be served, but they don't want to serve.
No.
But your master himself came
And served.
God in the flesh, Emmanuel.
Yep. See, and that's what you think about. He came and he was washing the disciples' feet. But he was showing you how a servant does. You take care of your sisters and brothers.
He washed their feet. Peter was like, oh no, Lord, I have to, because that's what a person would think. I mean, you're the leader, you God, the Son of God.
Yeah.
You should be washing your feet. Say, no, let suffering be. So Peter said, go for it.
Yep. We wouldn't need to go to no heathens to get no pedicure.
Right.
Because we'll be washing each other's feet like we supposed to. Taking care, but now you got to go pay $25 to get your feet washed.
Right.
And we supposed to be doing that for each other.
That's a good point, Mama Kazai. Okay, so now we're on the part where he said, love is not easily provoked. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 32.
Okay.
So, you know, with this love, you have temper, self-control.
Yep.
You're not quick-tempered. You have emotional restraint.
Yep.
Proverbs 16 and verse 32.
Okay. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city.
So that's what that means by love is not easily provoked. You slow to anger.
Yes.
Takes a lot. But no, we talk to you, you snap. Because usually that anger, something gonna get tore up.
That's
Somebody
right.
gonna get hurt, injured.
Yep. But that shows you, because that's the ability to have control over your emotions.
Right. He said is better than the mighty. To
Yeah.
be able to have emotional restraint like this, to rule your own mind, is better than somebody's able to conquer cities.
That's right.
The mighty men.
Yeah, because it don't take nothing to do that.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. You give me a Uzi, I can go shoot up a city as a woman. Take it. Give me some bombs. But to be slow to anger, that takes real control.
It does. That takes
self-control,
real
and discipline.
might.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Galatians chapter 5 and 22. And again, you're going to be able to do that by ruling your mind. You got to
Yes.
rule and control your mind with this. I often hear a lot of people say, you'll hear thugs say this, I'm hard. Because I got this gun. I can knock people out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Lord like, no, real hard is this right here.
That's
Being
right.
slow to anger.
That's
Try
right. That's right. He said
It don't
it's
take
better than
nothing for
mighty.
me to pull out a gun and shoot somebody.
No.
But how about showing some restraint?
That's
Let me
right.
see how hard you could be in that area.
That's right. Big difference, ain't it?
Okay.
All right, Galatians 5 and 22 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace,
There
long-suffering,
go that long suffering.
gentleness, goodness, faith. Verse 23, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
Why? Because that is keeping the law.
Yes.
When you do these things, it is. So
Yes.
there is no punishment. I know how you say it.
Yeah, like no
But,
law set
yeah.
for you to. It doesn't. You don't have to create a law for that.
Right.
It's something that's.
And he said
There.
this is a fruit of the Spirit.
That's right.
Love. Love. He started off with that. Love. Charity. Joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness.
Yes.
But you a roughneck. You rough.
Yeah. Rough. Hard
You ain't
knock.
kind. We can't approach you. But look at that, meekness, temperance.
Yep.
Temperance. Controlling your emotions.
Yep. If
Well, we know it's different forms, and when it talks about temperance, a lot can fall under that umbrella. But in here, we're talking about being slow to anger.
that's right.
You got a limiter on you.
And if this was taught to our children at young age, they wouldn't be out there gang banging
Right.
and doing all that foolishness. But they taught to be hard. You rough.
Yeah.
You know, because you would be operating in the law. But the preachers was too busy back there sniffing the green bikes,
Yeah.
counting dead presidents,
Right.
and our children weren't learning anything. And so they're out on the streets, and the streets teaching them opposite of what God's law says. And that's to love one another.
Love one another. So sad. All right, but now we're on the part where it says, love thinketh no evil. Romans chapter 13 and verse 10. So love is not ready to injure or harm others, conjuring up things in its mind
Yeah.
about what it's going to do to you.
Yep. Okay. Romans 13 and 10 says, love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is fulfilling the law. It's the fulfilling
Fulfilling.
of the law.
Right. And it's funny when you jump up verse 9, we ain't going to read it, but he's telling you, don't commit adultery, don't kill, none of that.
Yes.
So that's what it means to love your neighbor.
Yep. And all these things are easy when you think about it.
He said, love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Ain't gonna be doing no evil. It ain't thinking no evil, but how I can just hurt this person, injure them, harm them,
Yep.
give them bad advice.
Yep. You just want to see them destroyed.
Right. So let's go to Genesis chapter 50 and verse 20.
Okay. Genesis 50 and verse 20.
Now this is Joseph talking to his brothers, the patriarchs, as Stephen called them.
Yes. He said, "But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive."
So he said that when you sold me and all that to Egypt, he said, see, you meant that for my evil because you was envious.
Yes. Yep.
He said, but look at that love though he had for his brothers. Hey, but I understand God meant it for good to this day.
Yes.
It was for this day, this moment right here. And he didn't say, I'm going to destroy
No, because
my
when
brothers now that I got the power.
yes, no. So when you read 21, he's talking about you ain't got to be scared. I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna take care of you. And he spoke kindly to them.
Sure did.
Yeah, because
Yep.
he had that real love.
I'm going to actually read that verse 21. Now therefore fear ye not. I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them. The question is, can you do the same?
That's right.
See, he had love. He had a way of counting.
That's right.
Now, didn't Joseph have the ability to interpret dreams and all
Oh
that?
yes,
But he had it again.
That's
way of
right.
counting.
That's right. Good one.
Matthew chapter 12 and verse 14. So we got to read these scriptures.
Okay.
We got to put this mind of Christ in us. If we got to put it in us, that means we ain't got it.
That's right.
That means somebody got to confess, I'm rotten.
That's right.
This mind I got right now is corrupt.
Yes. That's true.
But if you pride, you ain't going to do it.
Nope. All right. Matthew's 12 and what verse was it?
Verse 14.
Verse 14. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him.
That's them thinking evil.
Evil thinking.
How can we destroy Jesus, a man that has told nothing but the truth, healed people, raised the dead, cast out devils, did all kind of miracles.
Yes.
He did so much stuff that I believe it was John that said all
books
the
of the-
books in the world
Couldn't contain.
contain it. How can we just destroy him? Love don't do that.
It sure doesn't.
And these were men who held the law in their hand.
Yes.
He's sitting in the seat of Moses.
Yes.
The
That's
Lord
right.
said, now everything they tell you to do, do it, but don't do as
do
they
as
do.
they do.
Because they didn't have that love
Right.
and charity.
That's right.
Okay, y'all. So now we're going to go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and pick it up with verse 6.
Okay. All right. 1 Corinthians 13 and 6 says, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth.
All right, so the love does not rejoice in iniquity. And this could be both in, sinning and people sinning, taking pleasure in people sinning, you sinning.
That's right.
Or your brother or sister fall into sin. And that's what I want to cover because I see this a lot.
Yes.
Let's go to Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1.
All right.
And I'm going to show you why I'm going this route. And it's because of the second part of what he said in that verse.
Okay. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted.
So he said, if a man be overtaken in a fault, in a sin, which you which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. You be trying to win your brother or sister back, not you on Facebook
Rejoicing.
Yeah, they failed. You seen that? I knew it. I knew it.
Girl, they ain't together no more.
Yep.
Yes.
That's right. But the key, what he said, in the spirit of meekness. But if you prideful, you do stuff like that.
Yep.
You will have no love. You able to do that. Because what you don't realize, you're destroying that brother and sister.
Yes.
Do unto your neighbor as you would have them do unto you. If
That's
that
right.
happened to you, would you want them to come and help you or to destroy you?
you.
Watch you fall. Watch the devil just have his way with you. Would you?
You wouldn't want that. You'll want some help, some comfort, some kind words.
Let's go to James chapter 5 and verse 19 and 20. So y'all better be careful about that, because I be seeing that stuff.
Yes. Okay. James chapter 5 and 19 says, Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth,
We read that in Proverbs.
We did.
I think it was Psalms.
Psalms, yep, err.
Err from, which is the commandments. Thy law is true.
Yep.
If you do err from the truth,
And one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins.
so you had a brother, sister went off, but you converted them back. You was able to talk to them, speak to them, win them back.
Yes.
Now they can repent. They can restore themselves into this truth.
Yes.
But they can't do this if you rejoicing in they fall.
That's right. You calling everybody,
Yeah.
texting,
Girl, you ain't gonna hear about this one.
and I mean that's how people do.
Now, check it out what he said. Let him know, that person that did it, 'cause they love their
Yes.
brother, their sister. And we ain't talking about somebody who just want to keep sinning. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about somebody who they just failed.
Yes.
But they in repentance mode. You can still win them. He which converteth the sinner from the error of his ways shall save a soul from death. What death? That second death.
Yes.
And shall hide a multitude of sin. This is real love.
Yes, that's real love right there. Your feet ain't quick to go run
Right.
and gossip and
Jumping on phones and social medias.
yeah, girl, email me after the class.
Right.
Got something to tell you.
Let's go to 3 John verse 3.
Okay.
Because it ain't really a chapter. It's just
Yeah.
a chapter.
Okay. It says, For I rejoiced greatly when the brethren came and testified of the truth that is in thee, even as thou walkest in the truth.
Now remember we read in 1 Corinthians 13 and 6. It says, love rejoiceth in the truth.
Yes.
So we see John said, I rejoice greatly when I found of thy children walking
In the truth.
truth.
Yes. This is what you should be rejoicing in. That sister keeping the commandments. You know, she biking the fold. Or this one just done came into it. And all you want to just slander and gossip. And
Right.
that's what our people love to rejoice in. Foolishness and nonsense.
The Lord like, don't think you gonna make it with me with that.
Nope.
Because we know we all sin and should be dead, but then the Lord forgive us.
Yes. He sure
Then he
did.
turned around and said, forgive others like I forgive you. How many of us are doing that?
Oh,
But we
brothers
we just read the scriptures because it's something to do, but are you actually
doing
doing
it. That's right.
Let's see. Walking in the truth as we have received the commandment from the Father. And let's see, I don't know what, that was it right there. Okay. I don't know why I had 3 down on my paper sheet.
So second John.
No, I was looking at the wrong thing. No
Yeah.
wonder I was up here.
He was the second epistle. We did the
Man.
third epistle of John. Not even going to the second one.
So 2 John 1 and 4.
He jumped up one. 2 John and verse 4 says, I rejoice greatly that I found of thy children walking in truth, as we have received a commandment from the Father.
Wow. So he said, I rejoiced in that. That's what we need to be rejoicing in, like you said. People that's coming into the truth, people who may have fell out, but they back serving. I mean, come on.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 7.
Okay, 1 Corinthians 13 and 7. It says, it beareth all things and believeth all things, hopeth all things and endureth all things.
So it says love or charity beareth all things, which pretty means you can endure wrongs and evils that may have been done to you. You're able to endure it patiently.
Yes.
You can put up with it, like they say. I'm putting up with this.
Yep.
Let's go to Ephesians chapter 4 and read verses 2 through 3.
Okay.
We getting there, y'all. Like I said, I kind of want to pull these scripts because nobody ever really go over this with us. Ephesians 4, 2 through 3.
All right. It says, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
So with all lowliness, meekness, there go that long suffering, forbearing one another in what now? Love?
Yep.
Why? Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit. That's why we're doing it.
That's right.
To maintain this unity in the body of Christ.
That's right.
Didn't Paul talk about the body of Christ?
Yes, he did.
In the prior chapter.
Yes. So this is what we're called to do.
That's right.
This is how we should be walking and living. You know, lowliness, meekness, long suffering. We don't need to add to the chaos that's already out there in the world. Not sitting here and we know what we supposed to be doing, how we supposed to be treating one another, how we supposed to carry ourselves.
Right. Now, y'all may not want to believe it, but ask our people what they think about the Hebrew Israelites. And that right there will tell you whether or not we've been holding to this standard of love. If they saying something different, we need to work on this.
Yes.
You should not have a bad stigma about who you are.
That's right.
And they say, yo, you know you're a Hebrew? Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
I heard it. It's so bad that you have to tell people, don't associate
Me with, yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yep. Christ was able to say, who do men say that I am?
Yep. That's right.
Nobody said hypocrite, biter. They didn't say none of that.
Because let's be honest, you ask most people about, I say Hebrew Israelites, that's what people
use.
use. They have a bad name.
Yes. Yeah.
People like, who want to be a part of?
They be like, no.
Look at all the names they got for us because of that bad behavior, not having that love.
That's right. That's a shame.
One sister, I'm actually teaching right now, because she want to learn the word. You know, I had told her, you know, that we are the people in this Bible. And I told her, you know, we're Hebrew. She was like, Hebrew like them Hebrew Israelites? She was like, girl, I done heard all kind of stuff. Like they cults and they say they be doing this and that. You can't get mad at that.
That's right, because it is true.
They're telling you something when they saying that. There's no love. That's what they're telling you.
Yep.
That don't mean all Israelites like that.
Nope.
But unfortunately,
But it's too many.
Yep, we get a bad rap. Okay, so on the part where he says, no, I think I'm on, so, because we're talking about, okay, it said love endureth all things. I may have wrote this backwards. Okay, on the part where he said love believeth all things.
Believeth.
Let's go to Acts chapter 24,
Okay.
verses 14 through 15. I just wrote it backwards
Okay.
on the paper.
Acts 24.
24.
And verse 14.
14. Yes, ma'am.
But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets.
So when it say believe in all things, it ain't talking about
Yeah.
believing just anything.
Just crazy stuff. No.
No, he said believe in all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. So Paul believed what was in it.
Yes, he did.
So why would he teach people against it
Wouldn't do
when
that.
he believed it? So do you believe all that's written in law and prophet? Do you believe in your God? That's a part of loving your God. Do
That's
you believe
right.
what he said? Verse 15.
Verse 15. And have hope toward God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust.
That's what we read in First Corinthians 13. He said, love hopeth and all things. He said, and I have hope toward God.
Sure did.
I have hope in it's going to be a resurrection
Yes.
of the dead and of the unjust.
Yep.
Because that's what he could read in the law and in the prophets.
So
There
that
was no
way back
testimony
then.
yet written.
That's right.
And he believed it. Do you believe?
Well, now some of them want to split it in half. They want the law, but they don't want the testimony, or they want the testimony and don't want the law part.
Because love said, love believe God.
Yes, it does.
Because when you don't believe God, mean you ain't going to have no faith, mean you're going to be breaking God's commandments.
That's right.
Love don't do that.
Love doesn't do that.
So let's go to Psalms 119 and verse 66.
Okay.
So the Lord wants you to believe him. Not keep listening to lies, telling lies, listening to falsehoods.
Nope.
It believes in the truth.
That's right.
Psalms 119 and 66.
Teach me good judgment and knowledge, for I have believed thy commandments. So this is what you're supposed to believe. Not that it's done away with.
Yeah.
You ain't got to do it.
So if you telling people you ain't got to keep it or it's done and all that what you just said, you ain't got love. Because
Nope.
love don't do that.
Yep. Jesus said, if you love me, you'll keep them.
Yep, that's right, Mom. So John chapter 5,
Okay.
verses 46 through 47.
Okay.
And some people say, oh, see, you trying to put all your stake in the commandment. Yes, I am, because it said the law is life.
Yes.
But didn't Christ say, I am the word of God?
He is.
The way, the truth, and the life. He is the word.
Yeah.
So to believe in the commandments is to believe in Christ. It's one and the
Yes.
same. He
Can't
didn't
have
bring
one
nothing
without
new.
the other.
And
That's
we're going to
right.
read that. John 5, 46 through 47.
All right. Okay. Am I on John 5? Oh, I'm on John 6. Oh, okay. John 5. It says, for had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me.
Where in that law and the prophets, you say not, you ain't got to keep.
That's right.
You ain't got to read it. You ain't got to do it. He said, but if you would have believed Moses, what he wrote of me.
You would have believed me. It says, but if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words?
So it looked like somebody need to stop lying on God, but you do that because you don't love him. That's why you ain't got to keep that law.
Because they don't believe all things.
Reading out of Moses. Well, Moses wrote of Christ.
Yeah. Ain't nothing else.
That's why the Lord said, search the scriptures.
Yes, that's right.
Speaking of me.
Yep.
But you don't believe me. Know why? Because you ain't got no love for me. Love the Lord
that's
thy
the bottom
God
line.
with all our heart, soul, and your mind.
That's right. That's what it's
You
about.
breaking a commandment. Okay, so back to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 8 through 10.
Okay. Verse 8. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail, or whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
Right, because these prophecies and tongues and knowledge, all that is to help understand the word of God. It's done for miracles to bring people to God. It's for signs.
Yep.
Those things at some point they're going to cease.
Yes.
He said, but see, this love will always be here.
Always.
Because why? You get in the kingdom, you still out of practice. We still gonna have this love.
That's right. So that means the commandments gonna be forever be there.
Ever.
That's right.
Verse 10. Oh, well, we already did that.
Okay.
But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. And truly it's in part, because the Lord ain't giving you everything.
No.
But here you go boasting.
Yeah, like you know it all.
He ain't even showing you.
Nope.
Okay. Now we'll read verses 11 through 13. We're almost finished.
Okay. Verse 11, it says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
So what he's doing here is just letting them know that he's basically using childhood and him coming into adulthood to show them how they should be grow up. Put away this childish understanding y'all got. It's time for us to grow up in God.
Yep.
We need to put on this gift of love.
Yes.
All right. Verse 12.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14, read verses 19 through 22.
Okay.
Because he was saying, when I was a child, I spake as a child. Because your level as a child, your level of understanding is not there. Like it is when you become an adult. After
Yes.
you live a little bit, start getting experience, you start getting understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. Okay?
It says, yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, that by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. Brethren, be not children in understanding.
Which is what he was trying to get them to understand. Stop being children in y'all understanding. Put away this childish behavior.
Yes. Howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men.
Grow up in understanding.
That's right. And he said, but in malice, that's where you need to be
Right,
children.
you need to be children at.
That's right.
But when it comes to understanding, you need to be men. You need to grow up.
That's right.
That go for both men and women.
Yep.
Because that's how Israel they get stuck. I can prophesy. But he like, listen, I'd rather say 5 words. This is where y'all got to get y'all understanding up at. Y'all childish in y'all thinking.
That's right.
Oh, did we read
21.
Okay, yes, 22.
Verse 21 and 22. In the law it is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people, and yet for all that they will not hear me, saith the Lord. And wherefore tongues are for a sign, not to them that believe, but to them that believe not.
That's who it's for.
But prophesying serveth not for them that believe not, but for them which believe.
So the prophesying is for those that believe in God's word, but the tongues are for people who don't believe. It's
That's
a
right.
sign, it's a wonder for them.
Yes. Didn't we see that on Pentecost?
So in other words, don't get caught up in this. Y'all need to focus on where it really counts.
Yes.
Y'all got all these issues in this church, and this is what y'all fight
Fight.
about, arguing about, striving
Yes.
over. Grow up.
That's right.
Y'all missing it. You're not seeing it. You're too carnal.
That's right. Got to grow.
Okay. And in that verse 12, he says, "For now we see through a glass darkly." And you know, in those times, in the ancient days, they had those mirrors where steel was their reflection. It was kind of blurry, and so things were not clear. They were real obscure. He's saying that's how we see now. So you thinking you sitting here gotten it all, y'all boasting and stuff, and these gifts y'all got, that really the Lord ain't showed us everything.
No.
He said, but then face to face. So we're going to know when we see Christ's face, He's going to reveal everything.
Yes.
Now I know in part. Now Paul's saying, I know in part.
Man.
And the Lord showed him some things. He said, I can't even write them down. They can't even be uttered. He still say, I only know in part.
That's right.
He said, but then shall I know, even as I also am known. So just like y'all in that day, when you change this body and, you know, the kingdom and all that, hey, that's when I'm going to know, just like the rest of y'all.
That's right. That's
So
right.
stop boasting in these gifts and stuff that
Yes.
y'all arguing over, whatever.
Cut it out.
Cut that stuff out. Okay. Verse 13.
Okay, verse 13. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity.
All right. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 18. I'm going here for a reason.
Okay.
Because he said in verse 10, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
Okay.
I wanted to focus on this perfect.
Okay.
So Proverbs chapter 4 and 18.
Okay.
I hope this is making sense. Trying my best.
Yeah.
All right.
Proverbs 4 and 18 says, but the path of the just is as the shining light, that shineth more and more unto the perfect day.
Right. So the path of the just, or this is your walk, is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day.
That's right.
And I believe that's what he was saying there. That's why he said we see through a glass darkly
That's right.
until that perfect day. All right. Then we will know in that day. Okay. Now let's go to 1 John chapter 3 and verse 12.
Okay. First John 3.
I think
And
that's what it is. Is it 1 John? Oh, 1 John 3 and 2.
3 and 2. All right. It says, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
And when we do, guess what? We won't be seeing through a glass darkly.
That's right.
He gonna teach us.
Fully.
All right. And then when you go down to verse 13, he says, and now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three. After all them other gifts, faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity. It supersedes these three. And why? Because faith and hope, the faith and hope we're expecting, we're waiting on this salvation, we're waiting on our God, we're waiting on our Lord. But even that's gonna end one day. You won't need faith and hope no more once Christ comes.
That's right.
So love still. That's why I say charity never fails. It's still gonna be here long after faith and hope gone.
Yep.
Still
It'll
gonna
never
be here.
vanish.
Let me show you what I'm talking about. Romans chapter 8, verses 23 through 25.
Okay. Romans chapter 8 and verse 23. And it says, "And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope.
See, hope.
But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why do he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for
See,
it."
he said, but hope that is seen is not hope. So once we see Christ and get all the kingdom and all that, we won't need that.
Nope.
So that's why you want love, because love is gonna surpass all long after hope, faith. Because we're hoping right now. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. But right now we're hoping. So the hope and faith is important.
Yes.
But once Christ come and all that is fulfilled that he said, there will be no need for it. Because we see our hope now.
That's right. It's
But
there.
love will always be here.
Always. Because we're going to always love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, and soul. And we going to love our neighbors.
That's right. You
As we
gonna
love ourselves in the kingdom. Or you ain't going to be there.
Right. So Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1, and then we done. We're done.
Okay. Hebrews 11 and 1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen."
But once it's seen, then hey, that's it on that. But love always be here. That's why Paul said, but the greatest of them is this love.
Yes. That's right. Charity, love. And that's something that's lacking in Israel. We got to get that up.
And that's what he was trying to tell them. And he told them before we actually got to chapter 13, hey, there's nothing wrong with just covet the best gifts. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But y'all got to get out of this childish mentality. It's time for us to grow up. The Lord has given us all different gifts for the working of the body. But you need to work on this love. This is your weakness.
That's right.
And this is what he preached to all of the churches.
Yep.
Love, be humble, be long-suffering, be patient.
Yep, that's right. That's what it's about.
So, all right, well, I hope that was understood.
Yes, it
You
was.
have anything else you want to add, Mama?
I enjoyed the lesson.
All right. I don't have anything else. So, with that said, we will say shalom.
Israel's conversations, couch conversations, couch conversations.